We'll start off with a little drink there. So, good evening. 6:46. Going to be doing some work on the Rockbot, and then while we do that, I am going to be discussing some of the features, some of the newer features, and taking any questions that are out there that, or maybe even help people set up different things on the Rockbot that are a little bit more difficult because it's not really laid out for it, especially stock trading. So we're going to focus on that. It's one of the questions I'm getting right away. So so let's start off by discussing the Rockbot in general. Rockbot in general is basically a ninja trader strategy that is based off the high probability methodology, but more of the number one setup that I look for is the divergence, price divergence setup in the futures or in individual stocks. Now, set this up for the futures using the criteria that I use when I'm searching for these. And the reason I've done this is because during the show I tend to miss a lot of the, looking at different stocks and looking at everything in the chat room. I tend to miss some of the setups, so I didn't want to miss them. These things were really working out great at one point. I was really trading them a lot, and I said, you know what? At one point, I really wanted to be able to take advantage of them in the overnight trade, especially around 3 o'clock when the futures opened up. Well, futures are going around the clock, but European markets open up at 3, and volume really starts to come in to the market at that time. So I don't have really the opportunity to get up at 3 o'clock and really trade. But my mind says, oh man, it would be great to be able to have a great setup, and you could just pull up the laptop next to you and see what it is, get alerted to you. So we have the opportunity. Paul has built a good alert system that we could, kind of attach to Rockbot and identify these divergences and send out text messages to anybody who wants to be alerted to any divergences. So that was the original reasoning behind the Rockbot. It's to watch it, to shadow it, and to trade off of it. It was never considered to really give out the code too much. And we decided for a lifetime gift, we'd give the code to the lifetime members for free as an add-on, and they could use the code. But understanding, my biggest thing is the understanding. This is something that is always being improved and always being built, and it's meant as an indicator. Now, having the code enables you to take those trades and have them automated, but I don't believe that any bot is foolproof. I mean, there's tremendous news and algorithms out there and orders on the market that that black boxes see, and it's not a game you really want to play. But there is a game that I want to play, and is that not missing a great setup. And a great setup for me has the foundation of a divergence. So that's the number one thing I want. And then I could look at the overall pattern that's underneath the divergence. Divergence is just, a technical level where I'm seeing a low, a higher low versus the lower low in the price versus the stochastic. It's actually one staring at us right now, basically right here. So you have this low, and you have this low down here on the 14.3 and the 9.3, and then you have this candlestick low. And the stochastics are not down at that low. They never really get down to that low, especially on the 14 and 14.3 down here, the blue one. You can see there's a nice little space there. Now that's not the perfect divergence, but it is a divergence. So we're able to build off of that divergence. We could we could say, all right, this is something I want to look for. This is a situation that I feel like there's an opportunity for the market to reverse here, because I'm seeing the underlying momentum shift, even though it's not the shift that I would really want to be in, where there's a much steeper divergence, and a steep divergence really represents the distance between the line that we could put between this low and this higher low, and that's key. That really is key. And again, you can't really, it's like having autopilot. I like having the autopilot feature. I could sit down, I could go to the bathroom, I could do things, and but I really want to also understand what the market conditions are when these trades are taking place. What if a divergence comes in because market flushes on news and it rotates back, the price rotates back really fast, doesn't even have time for the stochastics, are hanging up there. Lots of times you'll get a false signal. And that you would know because of seeing the volume coming in and realize, what's going on. There's other examples too. If you see a strong trending market and you start to see divergences on the buy side, but the overall trend is down, you know that you probably will get a little bounce, but you won't get the bounce you normally get on, being with the trend. So your short side divergences on a downtrend will probably be better for you versus long side. So you have to take that in consideration. All these things you have to take in consideration when you're trading like a bot. For me, for what I feel comfortable with, that the market's always changing, and I want to make sure that that I have the underlying pattern, I have a reversal candle, and I have a divergence. Those are really the three top criteria I'm looking for. The divergence is one, but also understanding that if I have a divergence and I have a tight channel or a wedge pattern or anything that I could read into. In this case, it's just really two pivots. It's all based off your foundation trade, which is called a 1-2-3 pattern. And that 1-2-3 pattern is a, we could look at this as I could look at this as a wedge. I could also look at it as a, let me see if I could just look at it as kind of this candle, and just there's a tighter channel. So I always look for this kind of tighter channel that's playing out, and then in that channel you're making that low, little bounce, rotation down, lower low, little bounce. But when you have that low and lower low, and that's on the lower trend line, just a small little trend line, little channel line, and you have a higher low, there's a 90% chance that that channel will be broken out to the upside, and your target will be outside the channel. And you hear me talking about, if you've been on the show, multiple, for any amount of time, you hear that is what's great about divergences. First of all, you're buying into weakness, which puts you in a good spot right there. If you have everything lining up properly, you always want to be buying the weakness, selling the strength. And then you already have a target. You don't have to worry about too much, because these, like I said, 90%, I see them all the time. I watch these things. And a good pattern like this, like that, takes us outside the pattern, and you could trail that up with a trailing stop, whatever you need to do with it. So that's the basis of the Rockbot. So now over the last year, I've coded in the divergence signal on long and short. Also coded in what's called a super signal, which is a combination of the 1 minute, 5 minute divergence happening at the same time. And that I really like. And, there's so much to go into about this, but, I'm going to try to do as much as I can. There's always more coming. And like I said, I'm working right now, tonight, actually, working on a new feature on this, which is going to automatically put a stop in. So let's see if this probably, and you're also going to have a parameter change where you can look for a steeper divergence, because this is really the key. I mean, you could get divergences, you get a move, and sometimes that move, when you get a steeper divergence, you see the move really well. It's apparent. You start to fall in love with those. You look for those. You know what the real deal is right here. Take a look at this right here. Easy call. A low is underneath that 20 line. You got a nice little pop. Stochastics rotated back up. You want to see a nice rotation. Try to get up above 40, 50, the midpoint. Then we start the market here. Comes down quickly, takes out the lows, previous lows, and the stochastics hold above the 20. That's a steeper divergence. The angle between this low and this low, before it was under the 20, now it's above the 20. That angle is going higher. If it was even higher, it would be even better. What am I showing you here? This is probably the low of this little pullback. It's a little pullback. I don't know if I can see a channel in here. I would say that this might have been, just a wide broadening flag. But it was a great divergence. That's one thing it was. It was a great divergence right here. And from that point on, it did move up aggressively. So that is, again, another example where you cannot disprove it. I mean, we're looking at a certain thing that is like a math like what's the definition of a square? What's the definition of a triangle? What's the definition of a divergence? I mean, it has a scientific and a mathematical, look to it. So there's no gray area. If you want it to be a gray area, you could get it down here and you could start to measure it out and stuff. But the steeper the divergence, the better the move. There's a little divergence here too, and you don't even notice that this is a little divergence, because at the time this candle drops down, the stochastics never really even drop, and that's big right there. That's really big. Hold on, I gotta pause this for a second. So that's what the Rockbot mainly is. I call it the ultimate indicator. It's meant to use as a shadowing. I want it to take the position. Then I want to look at it and say, if I like that, it's telling me there's a divergence there. I see it. I want to take it. I'll place my trade. I could follow it at that point, or I could have it placed to trade. But I will shy away from letting it run overnight because there is some issues with the NinjaTrader platform. I don't think it has anything to do with the script. I honestly think there's some bugs in the whole system that sometimes freezes the platform, and you just don't want to mess around with things like that. Now I'm in the room here live, so if you have any questions while I'm going over and doing this, feel free to ask. I want to activate the bot now. Now, the bot here consists of a bunch of strategies, and I want to go up to the strategy zone here, where you pull down the strategies, and you can see we have the default strategies that come with NinjaTrader, and then we have the super signal long, the super signal short, the Thunderbird 1 minute buy, the Thunderbird 1 minute short, Thunderbird 1 minute super signal, which has to run with the super signal long. It's very important. I did a video on this to explain why. That's a high probability, the highest probability setup. It doesn't happen as much, and you really do need kind of enough monitors to track all this and to put this up there. I try to use the Rockbot and kind of sometimes break it down to 4 different charts. You have a 5 minute setup, you have the 5 minute short setup, and basically the 1 minute and 5 minute are the same. I mean, you could really honestly just change the time frame and have the divergences. The divergences will work on that time frame. It'll still look for the same criteria. And then I have some other ones. The original Gangster, which is a really interesting one that I've been testing this week, and I do like that one a lot. We'll go over that one more. And I actually have some other ones that I'm fixing. The flag, I have a 2020 flag, bull and bear flag, the Rockbot flags, and there's probably some other ones that we'll be seeing here soon. So right now I just want to keep the standard 1 minute buy and 1 minute show. So let's put up the 1 minute. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit that, you're going to drag it down. It's going to give you the parameters. Now right now you have all these parameters saying take profits, whatever. And this is important because this is all the things that you're going to put in yourself. I mean, this is basically, you want to have the option to know what the market is doing, what the market is giving you. If the market's giving you huge moves and we're having 500-point days, your profits are probably going to be a little extended. Versus some days, I remember trading a couple of years ago, you would get 5 S&Ps up 5. That was a big day, and maybe you're getting 4 ticks on your divergences, and that's just the way it was. So it can't be hard coded in. I think you gotta know what the market you're given and then apply it to it. The overnight market's different from the daily market. The overnight market might not be right now. This really tight range. You're not looking for a 2-point divergence. You're going to get a tight range. It's jumping between 10 and 12. So I might want to go down to a 4-point target on this. That's what we're going to do. So I want to change it. I want to keep the lot as 5, but you could change that. The lot down here is how many contracts you want. Last night I was trading just 3 because I was leaving it running by itself at my house. I was setting up, but I want to leave it for 5 right now, just because we're going to be showing this as a as an example. So that we take profits. How many ticks do you want your first profits to come out? And then how many contracts? Now remember, lots. I mean, that's just the terminology I used. Old school, but you could take contracts, but I don't want to say that even. In the next revision, this is where you would put your shares. So lots would also mean shares. So I could put, shares there also. Just remember, lots mean shares. But right now we're going to be talking futures, and then I'll talk about the stocks and how to change this to stocks. So after you hit 4 ticks, how many contracts do you want to take off of the 5? So I'm saying, all right, we'll take off 2. Second target. Well, all right, well, we got 4 ticks. What if we get 8 ticks? Let's double that and go 8 ticks. And how many do we want to take off? We'll take off another 2. That leaves 1. The original stop loss, what it's set at. Now this is going to be updated. This is updated in the next revision. You're gonna have this stop loss. You could place your own, or you could have an automatic stop loss that's going to place it 1 tick under the candlestick. That's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. But you also want to say, all right, I want to give this. I know my statistics go up with the bigger stop loss that I have. It is. It happens on this. If you do back testing on this, and you have a very tight stop loss, you're not going to have as many winners then as you would. It just gives you a little bit more space. Anyway, in an overnight market like this, I might not want to be, dealing with a loss of 3 points, or maybe I want to tighten that up. Maybe I want to keep it a little wider. I'll keep it at 12 for now. What the hell? I'm just going to keep it at 12. Where do I start when the trailing stop comes into play? Meaning that I have 1 contract. First target's hit. Second target's hit. At that point, after the second target's hit, a trailing stop will be in effect. Well, actually, my bad. The trailing stop actually comes in effect whenever you put it in here. So 8 ticks. I change it to 4 because I always let the trailing stop come in after the first profit is taken. That moves your stop up to break even. So you have the initial stop losses wherever you want it, just to make sure you're not getting chopped up on the initial flush, and maybe the divergence candle is maybe a 3-point candle or something, or maybe it's very difficult. That's why I want to change this up a little and give you the opportunity to have that stop come in 1 tick under the candle low. Then first target is taken out. When do you want to have a trailing stop go in? It doesn't have to start at 4, but if you put it started at 4, that means your first profits were taken off. Your stop comes up to break even, which is 4 ticks underneath where it is right now, which would be 0 because you went up 4 ticks and you got that profit. So now you have a 4-tick trailing stop. You're playing with house money. If you after 4 ticks, but you have to put this under 4 also. You don't want that 8. So at 4 ticks, it starts a trailing stop, and then the trailing stop goes to where you want to place that, and I put it 4. So it has to be 4-4. So if you want to break even trailing stop, it has to be whatever the take profits 1 is, has to be where you're starting a trailing stop, and these all have to be the same number. 4-4-4, 8-8-8. It's following up 1 tick at a time, that means, and again we have our 5 lot there. Everything else could be it's the same. Just make sure you have, if you have your if you put it on your IB account or whatever account, you should find it here. Well, like I said, for this, we're just putting it on the sim for now until I move my IB over on this. Each tick, calculate all the things on each tick, and then we're going to enable it. Boom. And then we're going to apply it. Now remember, it says here we're going to be trading the MES 1 minute on the sim 1. So the important thing is to make sure we're on the right. So you want to open up your chart trader here. And you can see it says Sim MES, but I just put it on the Sim 101, so I got to change that to whatever the strategy is calling for. And it's everything else is fine. And it says it's running there. And then to double check, I can check on the strategy board right here, and it's green, and it's running MES, and yeah, it's running. And then sometimes you could actually scroll back and see here was some divergence long, first profit, trailing stop. That was a good one too. Well, these are the ones we were just talking about before. Here's the divergence, and you can see that we did call out the divergence there. There was a divergence there too. This one I had to see why there wasn't a good divergence. Oh, you know why? Because I made the criteria a little steeper. I wanted a steeper divergence at this point. Even though that is a good divergence, I made the criteria, instead of having that second, you have the low and the lower low. You have the low on the price, the low on the stochastics. You have the bounce on the price. You have the lower low on the price and the higher low on the stochastics. At the time of that, you have to have a higher low. Your stochastics has to be over 35. I want a steeper divergence to be identified. All right, that's what I wanted, a steeper divergence. Yeah, I'm super excited about that. Now, and again, this is not an exact science. This is giving us the opportunities where you see the divergences typically come in, and you could say, hey, you know what? I can't argue that it was the spot where it actually changed and made a bigger move. If we go back over here, yeah, this was a good spot. It actually made a nice little move. Now, how high does that move go up? If it went up here, maybe it could have followed it, but it didn't. It had the trailing stop, and it came in eventually and caught the trailing stop, and then it moved back down. There was a divergence here. If we had a tighter divergence, if I had a looser criteria at that divergence here, which sometimes I'll take a look. I'll bring up my what's called the data sheet here, and I'll look here. And all your indicators on your IB is placed on here. So we could go down to this orange bar here, which is the fast stochastic D line, which I have, and I kind of sometimes want to double check and make sure check these things. There's a couple criteria that need to happen for these, you know. Right now you had the stochastics at the time of that divergence was at 21. It was at 21, and I'm requiring a couple of things to be happening here. It needs to be lower low. This is very close to the divergence. This is so close to a divergence. You know, if I would have seen this, I probably would have said, yeah, that's probably worth taking, but again, you can't, you know, it's a different script altogether, but it's a very good, very close divergence. Another thing I added to the script to kind of keep the odds in your favor is a rotation, making sure the momentum is drifted up. Sometimes you'll come down real fast and the stock will give us a divergence. The low will be here and this will be up above this, but unless the stochastics have turned back up and we have two periods of rotation that are greater than each, like the stochastics here, say it's at 30. I want it to be bigger than the last two candles, so it needs to be like 31 to 32, you know, as it's pushing back up. So I know the momentum has shifted on that. So that's kind of sometimes you might see a divergence, but you don't see it take it. It's because of that criteria. Now this is a divergence here, and that's probably because of that criteria. It's still heading down. I think as we build this thing out, you know, eventually you'll have all these parameters and understand it more, that you could set these yourself. You could set, you know, how the sensitivity. You know, do you want to have this? Right now, this would have been a divergence if I set it at 20, because it would have this double bottom. Well, actually, we're looking at the low here, and it's just pointed down, and that was my concern. But now, if you were watching it, you would have to say that turn back up was a definite divergence, and it actually was a good divergence. Look at where it moved from. That divergence, which is impossible to say that's not a good divergence, it has all the criteria about it, has moved up here. all the way up here. I mean, that's a nice move altogether. What's good about the divergence, sometimes it'll get you in real fast on these spikes, which you wouldn't be able to get in on the other thing. So I don't mind it taking positions for me. You know, like activating it, putting it in there, letting it run, sitting next to it and watching it take the trades, and then me managing the trade. So it enables me to get in. Let's see here where we are here. So now, couple of things. I do want to be able to trade other, it's good for anything that you use ticks for, which was originally developed for. So messing around with it myself, I know people have asked, how do I trade stocks on it? And I did some experimentation on it. And let's just say we're going to do, let's bring up another, let's do this as stocks. Let's do this as a stock thing. Hold on. Let me take a sip of my refreshment here. Now I should make a set of it. I should make some directions on how to do this, step-by-step directions. But let's start off by making a new chart here. So we go open the new. Let's open up a chart. And I said, all right, we're going to trade stocks. So let's pick a stock here. Let's take. I guess we'll take Apple. Well, let's take Tesla. That's a crazy stock, right? I want to put Tesla. I'll change it after. So I'm able to get the feed here. All right. Now, the Ninja Trader only trades futures. They do not trade stocks on their platform. So you have to bring in your a feed from somewhere else that carries stocks. Now we're gonna be using the same strategy. Now you can use 5 minute, 1 minute. Let's see what happens with the 5 minute. Well, let's start with we might as well let's try everything. So all right. So here we have the strategies. Let's pull down the strategy flag here, or the section here, and let's pull up the 1 minute buy divergence. Let's go for buy divergence for now, so I can show you now. I don't have it written down. I have to go over it in my head again what each one of these things mean. So bear with me. All right. So ticks are pennies. Consider ticks pennies when you trade in stocks. So take profits ticks and lot. Well, let's start out with lot. Lot would be shares. All right. So 100 lot would be 100 shares. Say 100 shares. We're gonna use 100 for example. Of Apple, all right? 100 shares of Apple. Just think of lot as shares. Take profits, and again, ticks are pennies. So this would be 8 pennies, 8 cents. So we can't do that. So we're gonna say we have 100 shares, and again, it takes a little thing. It's not. You have to just think about it for a second and kind of figure it out. But once you start to figure it out, you'll understand it. And then the next version, we'll have a section that you could do the stocks with. It's just it wasn't designed for that, and I realize you can do it with stocks. You just have to convert it. So let's say you have 100 shares and you wanna. Now you get nice moves off this, but just for let's say take profits after $1. So that would be 100 pennies, right? How many lots, how many shares do you want to take off? Let's take off 50. Whatever. Or this could be 200. It doesn't matter. It could be 200 shares. It could be whatever. Just breaking it down. Second profit. How many ticks? How many pennies? It's $1. Maybe I want to try to get $2 out of it, so I'll put 200. So it's 200. $2. How many shares do I want to take off? Now I could go with the 50, or I could go with 30, and then the stop loss, original stop loss, again pennies. So let's put $1 in there for a stop loss, $1 stop loss to start things off, or $2. Let's put a $2 stop loss, and then where do you want to start the trailing stops? Now again, you could take a trailing stop at $1, and that would bring it up. That would start it off at 100 ticks. After $1, you start the trailing stops. And how do you want to follow it? You want to follow it by $1, then put another 100. Remember, all three have to be the same. Trailing stop profit, first ticks. Trailing start ticks is $1. Trailing stop ticks $1. And this follows it up by a penny each time, so it kind of follows. That's fine, a lot done. So now we have everything should be set up fine. I want to change this not to the sim because I'm not. I want to change this to. I'm just going to say crypto, even though it's not crypto. I don't have a thing here for stocks, so I'm just going to put it under the crypto thing. Because I was going to work on some crypto stuff also on this, and then we're going to enable it and then apply it. And okay, now I want to go over here. Now this is Apple, just to make sure this is Apple. I want to go to my watermark. I want to change that to white. I'll change that to 9. And instrument and signal apply. So we have that, and there it is. So Apple. Let's go to crypto. All right, and here we are. Now, what do you think here? Our divergence nailed. Friggin', I mean, I would curse and say, man, I said, Giant, look at that. How did the friggin' thing pull out a divergence out of the hat on Apple like this? This can't be. It can't be. You just can't just bring this up live on the show, first time showing this, and it takes the best position ever. Takes first profit, 50 shares comes off after $1. Second profit comes off, it follows it up with a trailing stop, and finally takes it off for a massive game of $1,000 billion. Oh my God! Look at that. It's incredible. See, I would use this for trailing stocks. Trading stocks, excuse me. I get excited when I see something work out so great like that. I mean, I just applied it, and it said, "Hey, that was your divergence. This is it working, and this is what it would have done." I had to scroll back because it might be a shit show before this. But I just want to fix this so we could see the end of the chart here. Let's put an 80 there and apply. That way it's. This is IQ feed, but this is real-time data. This is the real data, so you'd have the same. Well, I mean, pretty much same data. Now this is another divergence here, and it kind of matches the same thing. Remember, my criteria is off a little here. This would have been a divergence I would have taken every single day. It has the right proper angle to it. It's just that my criteria is a little steep for the futures. But if we change the criteria on this. Let's take a look here. I'll bet we could. I could change the criteria and make this trigger this area. And sometimes I wonder if I should do that, or stick to the game plan and have a steeper criteria. But again, like I said, that's what I want to do. To let you have that choice to make it a steeper, a stricter criteria or a looser criteria. And that'll be coming up. But as you can see, that was a great divergence here. The thing was, it was pointing down. I could get rid of that. If it wasn't pointing down, it would take that trigger, but it might also take some other crap trades that probably shouldn't have been traded. I might check this out before, after I after we do this video, I might go back inside the code and just change a couple of the parameters, and just to see if we could pick up this and see what it looks like and compare it to what someone. So like this one could have been picked up too, but I had a steeper divergence, so the divergence wasn't that steep on that. But we did have that one back there. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, look at that. Boom. Perfect divergence. First profit, second profit, and trailing stop. All came in perfect. Look at that. That's nice. So 2 trades so far going back. That's the whole day actually. It's, you know, if you get, this is on the 1 minute time frame too. So you're not getting that many trades, but the trades you're getting are quality names, and you could probably sneak in a couple other ones. I mean, this could have been a fast divergence right here. So there's another one, and that worked out good, and I'm sure we're going to have one that maybe trail. Oh, what's this here? Oh, let me take this. Hold on. All right, so I figured it out. When it takes a trade, it gets in. If it goes up, takes its first profit, it gets out of that trade, and everything else, because it doesn't follow through on that. Probably didn't have I think it was I don't know why, but for whatever reason I put that trailing stop in just a few pennies less than a dollar, and it seems to trigger fine. So that's what we have to do. Divergence long, trailing stop. Let's see what happens here. First profit 98 1/4, 99. Second profit 98 1/4. That's a trailing stop. Yeah, that's about right now. So it's following it up less than a dollar. Exit close. All right, so had a good trade here, good entry here. Followed it all the way up, trailing stop. Here looks like it didn't really, had a entry here and it stopped out. And it's the same thing here, it just went sideways. It had a little upside, but not enough to capture a full dollar on that, and rotated back down and then took it out to dollar. There was only a dollar stop there. So I see what the issue was. So go back here, kind of review that. We'll try to put it on the analyzer too. Apply. All right, so I have the taking a dollar again. Every tick represents a penny. Because we took the first profit and it pulled off of that, it never was able to count a starting tick at a profit also. So I put it at 90. Trailing starts, so it'll start moving up. I could push it at 95, I guess. Or 90. I wonder if I could put it at 99. Let me just see if it's how accurate that is. No. Yeah, I put it underneath the dollar. Don't make it exact. I put it 10 cents underneath the first profit, so it seems to work. You got the divergence, you got the first profit coming in, you have your trailing stop. A little before, and that seems to be working out okay. Let's take a look here, over here. I moved the to finish up the video. I moved my IB over into this main computer so I could connect it to the NinjaTrader and use the NinjaTrader as my trading platform. So I want to make sure that on the NinjaTrader I enable my connection to my interactive brokers. So I'm going to disconnect the Coinbase so it doesn't confuse everything. I want to keep my IQ feed up there because it gives me really good quotes and stuff, and I'm using those quotes. But I'm going to use the interactive broker platform to place my trades using the bot. So I'm going to connect on that. It should connect there, and that's the sound, and it'll connect there, and it'll show you that's connected. And then you have to, you would have to enable that. It's not that hard to do. You configure it. Go to configuration, and from that point on, you go to interactive brokers, put in your account name and your username and your password, and just set it up that way. Now I'm going to enable on the chart. Well, let's switch the chart over now to, we're going to trade the MES. Let's switch the chart over to, I'm going to go to chart trade and make sure it's on my account instead of on sim here. I think this is I think this is the account. I'm not even sure. Hold on. That doesn't look like my account number. Looks like something else. Don't mind me. 2, 3. Oh, it is. It is. All right. All right. So I'm going to connect it. And it says I'm short here.
Order submitted. Order filled.
I don't know why that was on there. I just noticed that before when I talked. I looked at my thing. I said, "Why am I short 2 MESs?" It must have triggered from somewhere. So I just took it off. I don't know why. All right. So this is now I'm connected to the IB account, and what I want to run here is the 1-minute buy divergence. And again, I don't like running this thing, on autopilot overnight. So I'm just gonna run 3 cars here. We're gonna take 2 off. We're gonna take. Oh no, I'll move. Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll move it to 5. Move it to 4. We'll take 2 off there, and then profit. How many ticks we want on that? We're gonna take 4 because we're already gapped up so much. We're going to take 2 off, and then we're going to look at 8. We'll take 1 off, and then we'll have a 10 tick stop loss, and then trailing stop will be break even, and 4 ticks. So we'll have 1 trailing stop, MES, and then we're going to switch this over here to the account, and then we should activate it and apply it, and now we're live. We're live. Now we'll back test all the potential divergences. If you had those trades live, this is what it would have given us. So this last setup here was actually a perfect setup. Divergence long, second profit, trailing stop all the way up here. Now it's pulled back. So I'm just going to zoom out here and let this play. We'll leave that. I'm going to try to let this run overnight. Hey Pixie, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. It's 8:22. Charlie's in the room. I might hand it over to Charlie, and I'll run this on the bot channel tonight. I'll run the live. I want to run it live on the bot channel. So it's a live account on the bot channel. I have to figure out how to make sure it doesn't shut off at 12 o'clock, but I can find the automatic shut off on these. I'll move it over to the bot channel now. She remembers your show, Charlie, but she's nowhere to be seen during my show.
Order submitted. Order filled. Order submitted. Order submitted. Order submitted.
Uh-oh, I'm in a trade. Jesus. Oh, God. Abort. Yeah, I missed you, Pixie. I did. I'm going to have to throw a song out for you. All right, so we got 4
Order
contracts.
filled.
First profit already taken. And already
Order
just...
filled.
And the second
Order
profit...
canceled.
It's just rocking up the profits here. I don't know. Add that to the tally today. I was up $2,891 today on a lot of different things. So it's just adding to the tally. That's not the futures alone. I should have, and if I had not as tight of a stop, I probably would have got a lot more upside on this divergence. And again, that's the give and take of trading bots and stuff. You either let them run with the tight criteria, or you give them a little room. This gives you the perfect divergence. As you can see, we started moving up. It probably is going to continue to rotate back up because it's a pretty decent divergence. I want to throw out to Pixie a song. I think I got a couple new songs for you, Pixie. But again, even though you might go up a little higher, then the chances of it coming back down is also there. So this takes out the emotion, takes out the emotional factor in the trade. He gets in, takes it off, and you can just bang it like that. Just bing bang. Thank you, man. All right, so let's play Pixie a song here, and I think that's enough for the video for the update on the Rockbot. Again, look for a brand new Rockbot 2.0 probably coming out in by next Friday. Next Friday I'll have it released. That's my goal. But you know me with my goals, it could be off a week too. Let's call it a night. Charlie's going to be doing a show with you, so I want to hand it over to him. I'm going to be here with you, listening to his show, trading alongside. I'm going to put this up on the bot channel so you can follow it tonight. If you have that bot channel, you'll be able to follow the live trading on the bot. It is connected to the IB tonight, and trading the MES. So good luck, everyone. I will talk to you tomorrow morning, bright and early. I'll be getting in here again, trying to get in here around 7 o'clock if I don't have too much excitement tonight. Pixie's in the room, so you never know. It might be a late night. No, slide. This is my IB today. The IB, just when you attach your account, it tells you your gains for the day on that. So it's a combination of stocks and futures. Blame the pixie. All right, so let's stop this right now. Get this out to everyone.